Hey, what's up everybody? Eternal Fire here, and today we're going to be going over the Enhancement Shaman in patch 7.1. So basically what we're going to be doing is looking at the stat priorities, the artifact weapon, and the path you want to take as far as prioritizing your traits, the talent build, and then we're going to look at the rotation as well. So with that said, let's get into the stat priorities. First, obviously you have agility as your primary stat, but then your secondary stats that you're going to want to focus on is going to be mastery and haste, followed by versatility and crit. Mastery being the most important because it increases your chance to trigger Stormbringer and Wind Fury, and increases all fire, frost, and nature damage you deal based on how much mastery you have. So mastery is your primary secondary stat that you want to get, followed by haste, and then again versatility and critical strike. So then let's look at the artifact weapon. You're going to start off with Doom Winds, go to Hammer of Storms, Gathering Storms, Wind Strikes, and Alpha Wolf. Alpha Wolf just makes your feral spirits turn into a really nice AoE cooldown. So then you're going to go to Spirit Healing, then Doom Wolves, and then from Doom Wolves, you're not going to go directly to your next gold trait. You're actually going to go over and take Storm Flurry because it's a passive ability that Storm Strike has a 20% chance to strike in an additional time for 40% of the normal damage. So with the amount of procs that you're going to be getting with the mastery that you have, you're going to be getting a lot of procs from this Storm Flurry ability. So you're going to go from Doom Wolves to Storm Flurry, and then from here you're going to go to Elemental Healing, Raging Storms, Spirit of the Maelstrom, and then to Unleash Doom. So that's going to be your second gold trait. And then from your second gold trait, you're going to go from here to Weapons of the Elements, and then to Wind Surge. And these two abilities are going to end up being stronger than anything you're going to get from Doom Vortex. So you're going to go to Weapon of the Elements, and then Wind Surge. And then lastly, you're going to go to Storm Flurry, Forged in Lava, and then Doom Vortex. So again, Doom Winds to Alpha Wolf, Alpha Wolf to Doom Wolves, Doom Wolves to Storm Flurry, then from Doom Wolves to Unleash Doom, and then you pick up these two guys and then get your third gold trait. So that is your artifact weapon right there. Now we're going to take a look at the talents. You're going to first go with Boulder Fist. It replaces Rock Biter, slams the target with the power of stone, dealing nature damage and enhancing your weapons for 10 seconds, increasing your critical strike chance by 5% and all damage you deal by 5%. And it generates Maelstrom, 25 Maelstrom, so that's your main Maelstrom generating ability, and you just can't say no to that ability. It just is a all-around buff to your DPS and your crit, so that's a really nice thing to have. And then you're going to go for, in any group setting, you want to use Wind Rush Totem. It boosts you forward. Basically, it looks something like this. You run through it, and it makes you run real fast. So it's a nice boost. Anybody who runs through it while it's active will get the boost picked back up. So you want to go with that. If you're doing solo content, you can use Feral Lunge. And then we're going to go down here, and in all situations, you're going to want to use Lightning Surge Totem. It's just an AoE stun. Throw it down, tick, 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 and then boom, it stuns the targets. So it's a nice AoE stun for dungeons, trash, stuff like that. Also out in the world, it's nice as well. And then we're going to look at Ancestral Swiftness and Hailstorm, and in my opinion, this is where you really have a choice. Ancestral Swiftness just increases your haste by 10%, and then Hailstorm, Frostbrand now also enhances your weapon's damage, causing each of your weapon attacks to deal frost damage. So it's basically just like Flame Tongue. You put the buff, you hit the target with that ability, it buffs you, and then you do some extra frost damage, whereas this just does Ancestral Swiftness. Now, in the situations you want to use this, if you're going to be in a long, drawn-out boss fight, you would want to use Hailstorm. In most questing situations, dungeon situations, and AoE situations, you're going to want to go for Ancestral Swiftness. I generally just go for that haste buff over Hailstorm. It's much easier to use. It feels much smoother. It's less to keep track of. So I just go with Ancestral Swiftness. It is a DPS decrease, but not by much at all. And then we're going to drop down here, and in this tier, you're going to use Tempest, hands down. Stormbringer now affects the next 2 Storm Strikes, so you get an extra Storm Strike. So you can't really go wrong with that. It's really nice to have. So that is the most powerful in the 75 tier. And then Crashing Storm, Lightning Crash Lightning also electrifies the ground, leaving an electrical field behind which damages enemies within it for over 6 seconds. So let's attack this dummy. Basically, it just does this. So it does the normal Crash Lightning damage, but it also leaves an AoE little lightning pattern down right there for 6 seconds. So that's something you really don't want to pass up if you don't have to. And a lot of people would look at that and say, you know, oh, that's just an AoE ability. Well, no, it's also really good single target if the target is staying, you know, in the effect of that lightning on the ground. It's a really good damage increase right there. And then lastly, you're going to want to take Landslide. Boulder Fist now also enhances your weapon, increasing your agility by 8% for 10 seconds. So Boulder Fist not only increases your crit and overall damage, but now it increases your agility by 8% for 10 seconds when you use it. So now we're going to talk about some of the core things about the Enhancement Shaman. We're going to look at the mastery. I used to read this whole thing, and I don't do that anymore. A lot of people said it wasn't a good idea, and now I agree with them. So we're just going to look at some of the passives. And what was the ones I wanted to look at? Let's look at Mastery. Mastery increases your chance to trigger Stormbringer and Wind Fury. We talked about that. Stormbringer. Each of your main hand attacks has a 9% chance to reset the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike. So Storm Strike is your main ability. That's your main damage dealing ability, and you want that up as much as possible. So with Stormbringer, which is increased proc with your Mastery, increases the reset chance, the remaining cooldown on Storm Strike, and cause your next Storm Strike to cost 50% less Maelstrom to trigger no cooldown. So in a perfect world, you're going to have endless Stormbringer procs resetting the cooldown on your Storm Strike, so you can just spam that baby all the time. The one setback is if you don't have a lot of Mastery, or even if you do have Mastery, there's a chance that you could just, you know, have a dry spell where you're not going to be getting very many procs of Storm Strike. And we're going to talk about what to do in those situations. And then we're going to look at Stormlash. While your weapons are enhanced, your attacks have a chance to grant Stormlash up to 2 party or raid members for 8 seconds, causing attacks and spellcasts to deal additional nature damage. And then lastly, Wind Fury. Each of your main hand attacks has a 24% chance to trigger 2 extra attacks, dealing physical damage to each. Or physical damage each. So you want Stormbringer and Wind Fury to proc as much as possible in your rotation as a shaman. So now let's look at the abilities I have right here. We have Boulder Fist, Storm Strike, Crash Lightning, and then your Doom Winds is your artifact ability, and then lastly Lava Lash. I move Lava Lash over from Doom Winds, which is normally on cooldown because you use it whenever it's up. I move Lava Lash over so I'm not tempted to just spam it, because basically you only want to use Lava Lash if you have over 100 Maelstrom, or if you've popped your Spirit Wolves or your Doom Winds and you have a lot of extra Maelstrom coming in and you know this, and everything else is on cooldown. So unless everything is on cooldown and you're generating a lot of Maelstrom, or you already have over 100 Maelstrom, don't use Lava Lash. Only use it in those 2 circumstances. Everything else is on cooldown and you have the Maelstrom, or you're over 100 Maelstrom. And when everything else is on cooldown, again, that's within the time that you have Spirit Wolves up and Doom Winds up. So, you know you're going to be generating it, because you don't want to spam Lava Lash and then Storm Strike comes, procs from Stormbringer, and you don't have any Maelstrom to use Storm Strike because you spammed it on Lava Lash with it, which is a relatively weak filler anyway. Okay, so you use that in a last resort. There are 2 buffs you want to keep up on yourself in this build. If you're using Hailstorm, you want to keep Frostbrand up as well, but what I'm going to show you is Flame Tongue and Boulder Fist. So Flame Tongue, you put that up, and that's that ability right there. Each of your weapon attacks causes up to 2,400 additional fire damage, so you're swinging quite often, so that adds up to being quite a bit. And then you have Boulder Fist, and again, that increases your overall damage, crit strike, and your agility by I think it was 8%? Yeah, 8% for 10 seconds. So you want to always make sure that Flame Tongue is on your target, and then you want to make sure that Boulder Fist stays on your target as well. Other than that, your entire priority is having enough Maelstrom for Storm Strike and using Storm Strike as soon as it's off cooldown. And you want to just try and get you want to hope to get as many procs as you can. So keep your Flame Tongue and your Boulder Fist up, use Storm Strike, use Crash Lightning, and then use Lava Lash as a last resort. Pop your Doom Winds and your Feral Spirits on cooldown. So what that's going to look like is something like this. You're going to run in, and the nice thing about Boulder Fist and Flame Tongue is you can cast those at a short range, okay? So you can cast them here. So as you're running into any fight, you can go ahead and cast them then. So Boulder Fist, Flame Tongue are on. And then if you pop this or your Feral Spirits, you're going to have so much Maelstrom, it's ridiculous. And then you're just going to use your, again, prioritize your Storm Strike, and we just got a proc there, which is really nice. And then you're going to use your Crash Lightning, Boulder Fist to keep your buff up, and Lava Lash, because you see we are at 150 Maelstrom, but then you want to prioritize Storm Strike over everything else, unless your buffs fall off. So that is basically all there is to it. It's really easy. It takes some, bit of understanding, but once you get it, you almost never have a dry spell with this rotation, and it's a lot of fun to play. So there you go. We get another Storm Strike proc, so that becomes our instant priority. You always want to make sure that your buffs are staying on you, but it really just goes hand in hand with the rotation, because Boulder Fist is your Maelstrom generating ability, Storm Strike, Crash Lightning, and Lava Lash are your Maelstrom spenders, and then Flame Tongue is free. So that's the primary. With Doom Winds, it unleashes the inner power of the Doom Hammer, causing all auto attacks to trigger Wind Fury and increasing damage dealt by Wind Fury by 200% for 6 seconds. And then your Feral Spirits, your little spirit dudes come and you generate a ton of Maelstrom while they're active. So you just want to make sure that you're using those 2 DPS cooldowns on cooldown. Plan them. That was a bug. Plan them with your Bloodlust, if you can. But that's really all there is to it. And the nice thing about this is your AoE target rotation. Your AoE rotation is the same thing as your single target rotation. You just want to make sure that Crash Lightning is always on the target, and you want to pop those Feral Spirits because of that artifact trait we talked about, being Alpha Wolf. So that is pretty much it. So we talked about the stat priority, mastery and haste is the most important ones. We talked about the artifact weapon, the talent build you want to have, and then some of the rotation as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's the Enhancement Shaman in patch 7.1. I've been having a lot of fun playing it. I did want to make sure that I geared it, relatively decently. Item level 839 for my alt. So, I didn't want to make this video until I had enough, practice with all the different specs. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. If you did like it, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.